All right, so for this cocktail, can you guys tell me my recipe?
Demerara.
Okay, Demerara sugar.
Yes, sir.
And then what else?
We need our bitters.
Bitters. We're thinking about calling it the Wiggly Piggly. So this cocktail is called the Wiggly Piggly today. And we're going to add in, first, what are we going to add first? Yeah, I think the first thing I could add is my bitters. So I'm going to go 1, 2 dashes of bitters. Then I'm going to do, how much of this? Did we say quarter ounce? Or was it a half ounce?
We said half ounces. But did we like dilute it to 1 to 1?
Oh, I don't think so. I think you're right. I'm going to use a half an ounce and we're going to see how that goes. Because I thought the last one was just, it wasn't quite as sweet as I wanted, so I'm going to go ahead and use that half ounce. And then how much of this? Now what we've done here is a bacon fat washed bourbon. And how do we do that? Okay, so what we're going to do here is a bacon fat washed old fashioned, and we're going to do a bacon fat washed bourbon. The way we do that is we take a large container, a Lexan or something of that nature, with a lid on it. We're going to open that up. We're going to put about 5 or 6 strips of applewood, thick cut smoked bacon. We're going to cook it, but not too well done. We want lots of fat in there. And we're going to take the extra fat that has been from the cooking, we're going to collect that as well. And we'll put all the fat in the container with the bacon, and then we're going to take a whole bottle of 4 Roses single barrel bourbon. And we're going to let that infuse overnight. We're going to put it in the refrigerator with the lid on. We're definitely going to label and date it, because if we don't, the kitchen's going to be like, what is that? Is it stock? Is it chicken stock? Is it old? Is it new? And they're going to throw it away. We just threw away a whole bottle of bourbon, not to mention the bacon. So you have to label and date it. You have to label and date it. And then we let it sit overnight. And then what happens is all that ethanol, all the alcohol in our bourbon is going to strip out all that fat and all that flavor from the bacon, make it nice and smoky and yummy. And then the next day, all the fat will have risen to the top and it will solidify solid. We're going to skim that off. You can use a fine strainer if you wish. Skim out all the extra fat that you can. And then, very important, you must filter it through a large coffee filter, maybe twice. When you're done, it should look relatively clear. This is still a little bit cloudy, but it is we shouldn't see any fat particles floating around on the top or throughout. And so now we're back to a relatively clear spirit, and when we taste it, especially in the cocktail with the sugar and everything else, you're going to get all the corn and all the grain from the bourbon mash bill, and we're going to be using that single barrel bourbon. And you go, I get it. It tastes like bourbon, bacon, and you get this long bacon finish as those oils coat the back of our tongue, and we're going, and it's something kind of unusual and weird, but with bourbon and everything else. But you're like, when you think about it, first of all, everything tastes better with bacon, and secondly, with the bourbon, the sweetness, and the sugar and the Demerara. I mean, we could actually use maple syrup. Would be a very logical choice, but I wanted to use this Demerara because it tastes really good, and we're going to try that. Maple syrup's not a bad call, but it's a very distinct flavor. Not everybody likes maple syrup as much as I do. So, all right, so got 2 ounces of that. This is a stirred cocktail. Why is it stirred?
It's an old fashioned.
Yes, so all of the ingredients are alcoholic except for the Demerara sugar, and the only reason we're allowing this exception is because originally it would have been granulated sugar, and we had to stir it in order to emulsify the sugar and incorporate it into the cocktail. We're still going to do that because now we're using a liquid sugar, but we're still trying to keep the oils intact. And then when we do a stirred cocktail, we don't just put the ice up halfway, we put it all the way to the top, because we know when we stir it, we're going to get close to 50% dilution, and we're going to go ahead And this is going to come up to about this point when we're done, and the ice is going to come down there as well. So get it all the way in there. Back of the spoon to the back of the glass. Get your action going. Look at the skull on top. It's spinning around. That's because the handle is spinning in my hand. I'm not gripping the handle. I'm just letting it spin, spin, spin. And again, this 4 rows is probably around 45% alcohol by volume, and I got to get it down to about 22%. So that means I got to stir it down to at least 50% just to get it down to the level of alcohol that I want so it's not so strong. Takes a little bit longer, but once you get your timing down, should be able to get that down. By the way, look at that. Look how much ice is already melted just in that short time. So, and can you do two of these at one time?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I probably have enough in here for 2. We may cut this recipe in half just because when you stir it down to the proper rate of dilution.
I got a question.
Okay, that looks like it's about 50% diluted. Let's see here. Now, normally I taste with a straw. I think let's do it the right way. Let's taste with a straw. Up, no straws. Okay, so we need to get some more straws, but I have one right here.
You said the liquid should be above half.
What's that?
Like, to judge how long you've been stirring, the liquid should be above half, right?
Well, we're just trying to take the alcohol from 45% down to about 22%, and the math is simple there. If I have this much liquid, I need about twice as much liquid in order to dilute it down 50%. Make sense? Yeah? It's a guess, but it's in the right zone. And that's why we taste it for balance and see if it's in the zone. This, I added probably a little bit too much sugar to it, but I can tell you right now, it's delicious. I think you guys will like it the way it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my cube to it. Where is that? And normally I would have ice tongs at this point. Ice tongs. I don't have ice tongs today. I have just my garnish tongs. Ice tongs are actually bigger, and I put those cubes in there. I don't want to touch those cubes with my hand. We have to today. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my julep strainer. The julep strainer, always with that, and we're going to go ahead and pour that over the top. I am not going to cover the top of the cube. You pour it to just around near the top, but not covering the top of the cube. That is a proper pour. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my cocktail napkin, which obviously would be down if the guest was ordering this. I would obviously have already placed my cocktail napkins down. This actually gets a bacon slice. We will have the chef is going to make us some candied bacon, and we'll have these little candied bacon slices. We may cut them in half. You're going to purchase it at 2 o'clock on the edge of the glass, and you're going to set this in front of the guest with that bacon slice right there. And you're going to say, and here is your Wiggly Piggly.